Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. Today I thought it would be fun to put all of my Christmas DIYs that cost $1 or less to make into one video. And as always, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. For this one, you're going to need a jar, some fake snow, and some Epsom salt. I just took some of the Dollar Tree snow and some Epsom salt on top. I did it on top to hold it down because the snow is kind of fluffy and staticky. Same reason I used 2 applesauce cups, you guys. That Dollar Tree snow sticks everywhere, and I wanted to be able to throw the containers away afterwards, so I just used 2 applesauce cups to shake it and mix it. And some Mod Podge. And I did about a 50-50 mix there with the Epsom salt and the snow, maybe a tiny bit more snow than Epsom salt. Now this craft has been around for a while. I've seen it on Pinterest for at least 2 Christmases. They usually do it with glitter and Epsom salt, which looks absolutely gorgeous too, but I've never got around to making it, and I want one of these. But I thought it would be fun to try it with some of this fake Dollar Tree snow and to share it with you all so you can see how that version turns out. Now it does end up looking like crystals. It's absolutely gorgeous actually. So do not hesitate to get some of the Dollar Tree snow and do this craft. I think I might like it a little bit more than the glitter one. But anyway, I'm just showing you how simple it is. If you find you miss a spot, it's that simple, no stress to fix it. And then after this is dry, I go ahead and take some of the Walmart twine because it's a little thicker. You can use the Dollar Tree twine. That's fine. That will work too. But I go ahead and cover the top of the jar. I saw this on Pinterest again, so this is my inspiration. I'm kind of copying what I saw. I loved the look. I made a twine bow out of the Dollar Tree twine, and then I'm tying 2 little pieces of greenery on the top of it. Now, I don't know why I didn't glue the greenery down. I think I was worried it might resist staying down, so I tied it on there to make sure that it stays with the bow down on the twine, and then I press really, really hard. I used those for the berries on here, just 3 of them, and that's pretty much it. This is a beautiful holiday luminary. I did have to spray it twice with a clear varnish so that the little pieces don't fall off. I tried hairspray, you guys. It wasn't working, so you definitely have to use a little bit of varnish on this one. And I'm just taking some greenery to hide the glue again so it looks more expensive, and that's it. It came up so, so pretty. For this craft, you're going to need some cardboard and a cylinder-shaped can, and I'm just using a bowl here to trace out a circle shape. I trace out 2 of them. I'm going to cut out 2 of the round cardboard disc. Now this time, instead of a coffee can, I thought it would be fun to use a different cylinder shape to show you that you can make it with any cylinder shape. In fact, I thought this would actually make a super cute DIY craft to make name tags out of Pringle. Like if you use a Pringle potato chip cans and you cut those down, you can make little mini versions of this with name tags as place settings on your table. I thought that would be super, super cute and fun. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and glue these 2 round cardboard discs together. And I'm just taking and putting a ribbon of the hot glue around the edge to glue this all together. For this part here, I'm just painting it with black acrylic paint. Any black acrylic paint will work. The only thing I would do differently with this craft, and I noticed it on the video, in real life you can't see it, but because I pay attention to detail, I did notice it, and I thought, well, the way you would overcome that is to put poster board on top of the cardboard. So if the lines from the cardboard are going to bother you, Go ahead and put a layer of poster board on top to keep it nice and smooth. And now I'm taking some Dollar Tree spackling and I'm going and filling in the edges of the cardboard so you can't see it. I did have some black ribbon. That would also be a really neat way to cover the edge. And you know, I actually made one of these a few years back and I used material. You can cover this entire thing with black cloth. If you have black cloth, that looks really nice too. Once the spackling was dry, I go ahead and give it a quick coat of black acrylic paint. And now comes the fun part. I'm going to take some Dollar Tree ribbon again. It's that gingham print. And I'm going to go ahead and glue it around the edge of this hat. Now, one row of the ribbon wasn't thick enough in my opinion. I had thicker ribbon, but it was too thick because I used a smaller can. The original idea was to use a coffee can for this craft. So I went ahead and I just did 2 rows of this smaller ribbon and that was perfect. Now, a lot of you ask me to leave this part in to give you ideas for the florals because sometimes I just kind of show it at the end, so I'm leaving it in. I go ahead and take the Amazon pine, again that's down below in my description box, and I glue some sprigs on. I glue some holly leaves. You're going to see me glue a Christmas flower, pine cone bells, everything Christmassy, berries, you name it. I'm just going to go ahead and garnish this hat. Lastly, what would a snowman's hat be without the frost and the snow? So I'm just tapping this hat with a little bit of white chalk paint to make it look like snow. I do use a little bit of white glitter on the top and sprinkle it while the paint's still wet, but to be honest, it didn't make that much difference. I wish I had had the Dollar Tree snow that I had. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore, but they don't have it at the Dollar Tree at the moment, but it's that kind that looks almost like flakes and it's got a little bit of an iridescence to it. That would have been really nice for this craft as well. So if you have that, that'd be pretty. Baking soda would be pretty. I think salt, anything like that would be really pretty if you want to add it with the snow. But I absolutely love this craft. It is so stunning in real life. I hope the camera does it justice and I hope you all get a chance to try it out. For this next craft, you're going to need a star pattern, some brown paper, and some material of your choice. Now, this is a primitive star pattern that I found online. You just Google primitive star. I think they're so cute, so I chose the primitive star look. And there's a bunch of crafts on Pinterest called brown paper bag crafts, and I've been seeing them all over, and I just thought they would be fun to have go at. So I only had the brown paper on a roll. This is supposed to be a brown paper bag, so I end up taking some cardboard here and gluing my star on top of the cardboard. You can go ahead and substitute this with material if you'd prefer. I wanted to try it with the brown paper. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue some polyfiber fill on the top. I decide to cut the star a little bit bigger because I'm going to allow for a seam on the side just so it's puffy, because this star is supposed to be really puffy and have cute personality. So we're just trimming the paper around a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to wrap that around the edge of the cardboard on the back. For those of you that watch my channel, I love to take the Dollar Tree pine and give it a haircut and flock it a little bit. It really takes it up a notch and makes it look much more expensive. And we're going to be outlining this cute little star with the Dollar Tree pine. So this is what your little star should look like so far. It just has this real primitive look. If you're not familiar with primitive crafts, go ahead and give that a Google search and it will give you a good idea about the look I'm trying to achieve here. It is, as it suggests in the name, very primitive. I love that look. I think it blends in with Farmhouse, and I thought it would be fun just to add one into my decor. So I'm taking and making a little pocket out of burlap, and I frayed it a little bit on the edge, and now I'm using some material that I got from Amazon. All of my supplies will be down below in the description box. And I'm going to glue that on the front here and add a little button. Next, I'm going to take these wood stars that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use one of the furniture pens you also get at the Dollar Tree in the color walnut, and you just tap it along the edge and it kind of drips or runs into the wood grain and gives it a really neat distressed look. I showed it in a previous video, and I'm going to go ahead and distress the rest of the craft using the pen as well. You'll see how well that works, but I do want it a little bit more distressed, so I'm just dry brushing with a little bit of burnt umber from apple barrel paint. And lastly, I'm going to take some white paint now and dry brush it onto the front to give it a nice frosty look. Using some floral picks I got off of Amazon. Again, it's down below in my description box if you're interested. I'm going to go ahead and start filling up that little pocket with Christmas, embellishments and florals and this little snowman, which I also got from the Dollar Tree, and just make a really cute little front piece. I don't know how to describe that. I guess it's just a cloth pocket full of fun little Christmas decor embellishments. And that's pretty much it for this craft. I think this would be so cute leaning up on an entry table or on a shelf or hutch. It's just another little accent piece for Christmas time. For this DIY, we're going to be using the Enamel baby formula can. Again, any cylinder shape will work for these crafts. Coffee cans, big hot cocoa cans. If you live near a super size quantity store like a Costco or a Smart & Final, you just walk up and down there. You'll find a lot of different containers that would work for this craft. And I give every single one of these containers a coat of white chalk paint first, and then after that I use acrylic paint. So here I mix burnt umber and white together to make a nice creamy mocha color. And this is a free printable down below in my description box. Now, for those of you wondering where the description box is, on a PC you click See More and a drop-down menu will appear. If you're on a tablet or a cell phone, there's a little gray arrow in the upper right-hand corner. You click that and a drop-down menu will appear as well. This is where all of my links to all of today's free printables are. So I went ahead and cut it out, and now I'm applying a glue stick to apply this label. Now, because this cylinder is flat and it doesn't have any grooves, you can use a dry glue like a glue stick to apply, and it works great because it won't wrinkle or buckle. If you're using a coffee can or any kind of can that has those grooves, you're going to want to stick with the Mod Podge so that your paper does get a little bit wet and it will take shape with those grooves. I'm applying a little bit of the burnt umber by Apple Barrel Paint here to distress it. You can skip this part if you want, but I love that look, and I think that this came out so cute. So for this DIY, my son challenged me to use his protein powder container, and I said, you're on. I have a great idea for this. Now, I do love to paint all of my containers with paint because it leaves those brush strokes which imitate wood grain. You can skip that if you want. I just think it makes it look more expensive and high quality. And again, this is a free printable down below in my description box. I just cut it out, use a little glue stick, and voila, we have the beginning of what's going to turn out to be a cute container. Now, I was thinking, should I have done white enamel? Should I do a faux galvanized? I ended up deciding what would be really cute is to make it kind of have like a mini barrel appearance by doing shiplap lines or faux shiplap. Now, I used to use colored pencil, but I still would grab the gray color, which really just looks like a regular pencil. So no problem, you guys, just grab a pencil. It works great for the shiplap lines. Now I'm using the burnt umber, and I swirled it on the top of the lid to distress it. I wasn't really after a wood look. You can go for a wood look if you want. I was just after making this container look old and vintage. So we're going around the label, which is my favorite thing to do, adding some little distress marks here and there, and it was so easy. Look at how awesome this craft came out. I think it took me maybe 20 minutes to make, and it's a great, great container to use. We are back to the baby can formula here, and the same thing. I take the label off. Again, the white chalk paint acting like a primer. And this time we're going to go ahead and paint this can black. This is actually coming in as my husband's favorite. And the camera lighting makes that look streaky, but actually in person it looks like it's solid black. So make sure you know, yours looks solid. You can leave it streaky if you want, but mine is more of a solid black. And these are the Dollar Tree little pot holders here. And again, perfect quick thing to grab for a craft. I'm just taking some sharp scissors and I'm going to remove the front piece. And I don't want mine to be perfectly even. I prefer my labels to be a little uneven on purpose. You can leave yours even if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and cut around kind of like little arches and curves just to make this have a little bit of an uneven shape. Since I am using cloth for this DIY, I am going to use Mod Podge. You do need Mod Podge for cloth because it does need to kind of soak through the fibers in order for it to hold it down nice and flat. And I'm very generous with the Mod Podge. I put a couple huge drips on there. I'm going to go for it again just to make sure, because the material off of those pot holders is kind of thick, and I want to make sure it goes all the way through to the front side of the material. And I'm just going to go ahead and smooth that out and then glue the piece of cloth down. Now, a little trick that I've done for years is, because you apply the Mod Podge super thick on the front, when you push the material down, it kind of soaks through several layers of the fiber, but without going through to the front. That way you maintain a cloth look, which I prefer. You can seal it in if you want to, that's fine, but I've always found that works just fine. And I went ahead and I just tapped the edges with the Mod Podge just to make sure those stay down and secure in place. When it's dry, I take some black paint and I'm just tapping it around the edges to mute and soften them. And this is how my project turns out. For this DIY, you're going to need craft sticks and some paint. Now, I just ordered a bunch of craft sticks from Amazon, and I didn't realize how big the package was when I got it. So I thought, I have to think of things to do with these large craft sticks. And I just started gluing them together to make a tree, and then I thought, you know what? I kind of like the winter houses I do every year. I think those are so pretty. So I thought, Holly, we're going to try and do a combination of something that gives the vibe of a tree and a house and kind of maybe like a barn, like a winter barn or something all in one. You'll have to let me know how I did, but this ends up being one of my favorites. It's really, really tall in real life. It's super heavy when you lift it, and it's going to be like the centerpiece on my mantle to kind of start off the whole winter mantle look. And you're just taking your craft sticks. As you can see, I glued the two. I started off with one at the bottom and glued two on either side at an angle. And now I'm just kind of cascading them up like little ledges on a tree, I guess. You can see I'm not going too close. I guess you could space them however much you want. If you want it to be more, use more craft sticks and have a smaller space, you could do that. But I did it this way. And like I said, I'm really pleased with how this craft came out. So after I feel like I have the tree look, I top it off with a little rooftop to give it the house look. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to start cutting these craft sticks down so that you can't see the side of them. And I'm going to crisscross them back and forth, kind of like what you see with an old windmill or a barn. You just kind of see that look on farms. And that was it. That was kind of my interpretation or version of getting a winter tree, a winter house, and a rustic barn or windmill or something like that, all in one craft. And I went ahead and made 3 of them all together, one large one, medium one, and one small one. And we're just going to give them all a quick coat of white paint. So I'm using some pine that I got from Amazon that was absolutely gorgeous and a great deal. The link will be down below in my description box. I was putting all my supplies down in the description box, and I try to for each craft if I'm using, particular things that I talk about. But I did set up an Amazon storefront, and all that does is make it so that everything's kind of condensed at the storefront, so you guys can actually see photos of everything instead of just the links, which is kind of cool, I think. So you can also click the storefront to look for things, and you'll recognize stuff that I use there. And I'm just gluing some of that winter pine on the top, as you saw, all 3, some white winter berries, and it looks really, really nice. And now I'm taking one of the little pieces of wood now that they sell at the Dollar Tree. They're almost like a furring strip, a little piece of furring strip there. I'm gluing the 2 bigger ones in the back and the smaller one in the front. And then I step back and go, you know what? I need to paint this white. I think it will look better white. So I go ahead and I give that piece of wood a coat of white paint. Now I was thinking I might put the little bottle brush trees from the Dollar Tree in here, but those pics from Walmart, look at them, that's more of them, and they're just a tough act to follow. So I decided that would be really pretty at the base of this and really celebrate winter, and we're all done. I love this. For this craft, you're going to need a cylinder-shaped item. Any cylinder shape will work. I'm just showing you some examples here. They sell these at the Dollar Tree. And the next one coming up, the Quaker Oats. If you're in the mood to make a big piece of birch wood, you could use that. Even the glasses next to it that it shows with the oatmeal in it would work. Anything that's a cylinder shape. Today, I'm using a tin can and some masking tape. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is taking the masking tape and wrapping it around my tin can. And this is probably one of the few times in life you can be as sloppy as you want with the tape and not worry about it. In fact, the aim is to be a little bit sloppy here. Just make sure that you're getting it right up to the edge of the can on the bottom and the top, or whatever you choose to use as a cylinder shape. So we're actually creating the bark of the wood. And I'm moving kind of quick and rough, not worrying about it wrinkling up, just pressing those wrinkles down as I go. And I'm going at an angle just to cover the entire can. And you want to get rid of all the little bumps because the cans have the little bumps on them, those little, I don't know what they're called, those little, I don't know, lines, I guess, ridges maybe, that go around the can, and you can see me smoothing it there. And I end up putting about 3 layers on the bottom and the top so that it kind of makes it, you know, the middle pops out a little bit. So you're trying to make the surface as even as you can so that it doesn't have any indentations. And I'm showing you up close all those crazy lines. They almost look like veins going through it. And you just keep applying the tape. See how on the right side it's a little more transparent? You can see the can through. I'm going to add some more tape there and make sure that everything's covered and uniform in color and pretty level, so when you lay the can down on its side, the sides are pretty even around. You can see here that's what I'm attempting to do. That's why I put more layers on the top and the bottom, because we have that chunky middle. And of course, real wood isn't perfect, so don't stress about this. Just do your best. And now you're going to want to take the back end of your scissors or just something hard like that and rub down those lines so that they're as flat as possible. Then you go ahead and you apply a coat of white paint, and you can be sloppy with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see I'm using an old brush and just putting it on there. The important thing in between each layer that we're going to do is that you dry it. So that's why I show you the blow dryer, to remind you to make sure that it is very dry before you start the next part. Next, you're going to be using a sharp little utility knife or an X-Acto knife or a craft knife like you see me doing here, and you're just going to randomly pick different little veins to shave down. So you're looking for the ones that stick out too much. You know how the tape might bunch up and form almost like a flap there? You don't want a flap. So just turn it sideways, go over it, and you're also going to see me point it downwards with the tip of it and kind of scrape into the little vein thing. So you'll see it right here, and I'm scraping it away to make it flatter, but it also tears the tape open a little bit, and it makes it have that messy look like birch wood has. If you ever see birch wood in real life, the bark is usually kind of thrashed and torn. It's not perfect. So this gives it more authenticity and texture, and it just adds to the whole look. So, and you don't, again, have to do every single one. Just sporadically pick some here and there wherever you think it looks nice. All of today's paints in this video are by Apple Barrel, and the first color we're going to be using is Territorial Beige. You're just dry brushing. That's the only technique we're going to be using in this video, is dry brushing. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it just means use a small, tiny amount of paint on the tip of your brush and paint it really softly across your surface so that you get a look like what you see here. Now the important thing is that you're going to dry in between each step, so that's why I showed you the blow dryer. The next color is Pewter Gray. Same technique. We're going to be dry brushing it really softly all the way around the entire can. The third color is White. And we're going to be dry brushing white across this to blend out and mute the colors softly and create a veil effect over them so that they look really kind of blurry and softened. And you don't have to hit every single area with the same amount of white paint. So some areas will have a little more, some areas will have a little less. That gives it nice dimension and makes it look more realistic. The fourth color we're going to be using is Burnt Umber. Now this color is applied super feather light so that you're only hitting the raised surfaces, like the little veins on the wood here, and that is covered again with some white to mute and soften that up. That's the last final step. Now to make the faux knots on the wood. Now this is super simple. You just dip your finger in some of that pewter gray and blob on some gray little spots wherever you'd like them to be, and then take the burnt umber and draw a frame on them like an eyeball. You're essentially making an eyeball. You can see it right there. They are that simple to make. And lastly, you're going to be taking the color Antique parchment and going over those little knots to create a little nice softening veil on them as well. Now the reason we're using the antique parchment is because at this point the white has so many layers of paint on that it's no longer white. It resembles more of a cream color, so you can't really use white anymore or it would be too bright and too much of a contrast. And lastly, you're just going to take a regular old pencil and start drawing those little lines all over the birch wood. Just cover the whole can with them and that's it. And there you have it. Doesn't it look awesome? I love this craft. The next step I like to do is finish off the top with a bit of twine for a little rustic touch, but you certainly can skip this step. You can also add layers of foam board on the top and make it taller as long as you take the tape up the top as well and cover the sides of the foam board. You can change the height of these cans to make them less recognizable as a can. And the really neat thing about this craft that I love is you don't have to, make just birch wood. This technique would work for any kind of wood depending on what colors of paint you choose. So if you want to make a cute little Yule log craft or just put some fake wood in a faux fireplace, it's really sky's the limit with this craft, which is why I thought it was so much fun, and it is a fantastic way to recycle cans. Now I like to leave one end open because I actually flip these and use them for super pretty vases, and boy do they make absolutely stunning vases for flowers. Now I wanted this size for a craft I'm doing in my upcoming video. I didn't worry about it looking like a can because when it goes together with the whole craft, it definitely is not recognizable as a can. I'm using a piece of scrap wood that I had in the garage and I cut it at a 45-degree angle. But here's the window box from the Dollar Tree, and I was going to use this and use the back of it for the barn. You could also use the front of it if you want a window type barn scene. That might be kind of cute. They have so many house shapes now where I am. I hope that's going on in all of the Dollar Trees. But if you don't have that, you can also take the Dollar Tree signs and cut them into the shape of a house and then use the scraps that are cut off to make sides. When there's a will, there's a way. So this craft is so much fun, and these are totally on trend. So I'm cutting these craft sticks to make my roof. I want my roof to be jagged, so I deliberately broke one end and cut the other end because, I want it to look more rustic. And there's a little trick with the craft stick that I wanted to share. When you're cutting it up the center to get a thinner stick, because I didn't have any thinner sticks and I didn't want to go to the store, cut halfway up, then turn it around and cut the other halfway up. That way it won't split on you. So that's a nice tip. And here I'm just applying my roof with some hot glue and some wood glue. If you're, you don't have to do this. This is optional. It's just I like it really rustic, and so that was a little too neat and clean for me. See the ends right there when I move my thumb? They're just kind of jagged. For me, that was more like a old barn, an old abandoned barn. And I'm actually keeping this up all year round, so I kind of, wavered back and forth deciding whether I wanted to write Merry Christmas on it or not, and I finally said no, this is too cute. This is going to be on my farmhouse console table all year round. I just think it's adorable. So I opt for this color red. I think it's called like a fire truck red. I went for a really bright one. You guys don't have to, or I could have used a burgundy red, but I decided to make it pop. And I deliberately paint it in a way where some of the wood is left behind, showing it. Now on one side of this barn here, or this wood, there was already white paint. So it worked out really, really well because there was already white under there. So if you like the look you see that I'm getting right here, you would need to paint a light bit of white underneath. And I'm using my favorite color, black, to distress it, just adding some, dirt here and there to make it look old and weathered. And I pour a little bit of water inside the black paint to make a nice black stain for the roof, because I know, look at that. I mean, I knew it would do that. It just kind of came up with some brown tones in there too. I loved the way that came out. So I'm just adding some of that black paint that's watered down underneath the roof where it would naturally get dirty and accumulate there. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint the sticks that I cut a nice bright snow white. I'm painting it with my homemade chalk paint. If you want to know how to make that, there is the video link down below in my description box as well. It's very cheap. I still have a lot left, so I haven't been really motivated to make the new video. I have ordered all the ingredients. You guys, I could have wrote a book at how difficult that was regarding the supplies from the supplier that I wanted it from. But anyway, it is slowly all coming together. I'm actually thinking about adding another ingredient that might work. And so that would mean I'd have to order another one, because I want to give you guys lots of options. And I also want to show you what doesn't work, but we're working on it. So here you see me laying down the stick. I'm cutting it at an angle. I recommend you do that before you paint it. You get cleaner seams that way, because when you paint it, the paint fills it in kind of like a wood filler would, or a spackling, so you don't have to do that step, and it looks nice and clean. Here's the Dollar Tree pine. I've complained about it being cheap looking before. The way I make it look more expensive is I usually trim it down a little bit. I took that piece out and flocked it earlier that week with a bit of spray paint outside. It came out great. And now I'm just using this round little jar to make a perfect circle. That's a nice little tip there. You know, probably most of you guys know that, but just in case. And I decide, because I do want to keep this up all year round, that I don't really want to go with all pine. So I take some of that Walmart floral and I just wire it on there to, it'll still pass for Christmas, but then I can keep it up all year. And here's the Dollar Tree buffalo check ribbon. I'm just floating some fire over it there. It stops the edges from fraying and seals them up really nicely so they stay nice and clean for you. And there's what we end up with, you guys. And I love this barn so much. It's perfect for Christmas, and I cannot wait to keep it up all year round. For this first craft, I'm using the Farmer's Market calendar and some foam board. So you can use any image you want. You can print it up from online. You can use another calendar image. And this is a piece of round foam that my sister pulled out of her trunk of her car and asked me, can you do anything with this? So today we're doing something with that round foam. But if you don't have foam, just cut about 3 rounds of whatever size you want in cardboard. You just want this to be thick and sturdy. And when you glue your foam board down to it, prevents it from curling if it's got a nice brace in the back. So you can see here that I went ahead and I traced my circle using the foam board, and now I'm cutting them in little separate little panels, but I am cutting out little sections in between. So don't forget that little groove. You need those in between each one of the panels there. And you guys can probably guess what I'm going to do here. This is a pallet sign. I love pallet signs, you guys, for farmhouse decor. I think they are so cute. And of course, I'm going to go with December's calendar page, which is that little Christmas tree farm cutout. And I'm going to go ahead and take that now and lay it on top of my loose pieces. They're not matted down or glued on anything just yet. And I'm going to approximately draw a line where the grooves are going to be, because each one of those little sections of the calendar page are going to be glued down on each panel. Next, I'm taking those pieces and I'm going to glue them down onto the foam board. And remember, if you don't have the foam, you're just, you've taken and made a big circle out of preferably at least 3 pieces of cardboard there to make that nice firm brace in the back so you don't have to worry about any curling issues. And of course, you guys, I tried a hot glue gun at first and it melted the styrofoam. I kind of knew it would, but I was hoping against all odds. So I'm going with regular old school glue here and to glue it down. And it's remarkable, actually, by the time I'm done gluing this down, it dries good enough for me to move on to the next step. So now I'm using some joint compound. Now a bunch of people came on my videos and said that polyfilla is also in Australia, it's in Canada, Belgium. I actually lost track of all the countries. So if you recognize that name, yours is polyfilla. Now polyfilla is equivalent to our spackling. Spackling is a little thicker than joint compound. I believe they put oil in joint compound, so it takes a little longer to dry. But the goal here is to brush it on so you're getting those little streaks, because that's what's going to imitate the wood grain. If you are working with spackling or polyfilla, go ahead and add a little bit of water just to make it more workable so that it's not so thick and you have time to spread it and work with it, and it goes a little farther. You wait for that to dry, or you can blow dry it with a blow dryer. I blow dried mine. I think it took maybe 7 minutes and the whole thing was bone dry. And then I'm cutting out that image, the calendar page. And of course, I love to tear the edges because I think when you're all done, it kind of helps it blend and disappear into the surface a little bit better than if you just leave it square and glue it on. You've got that real harsh edge that's hard to hide. You can burn it with a lighter. Someone suggested that, but I have done that before and it torched and I took too much off and I took some of the actual print that I wanted to preserve. So you could try it, just get ready to blow really hard. Now I'm taking some of the pewter gray from apple barrel paint and I'm just dry brushing it on really softly because that also is going to help it blend in and kind of mute it. You can see it looks beautiful and it just becomes part of that image. And this is actually so pretty in real life. I really hope the camera does it justice. And I'm taking the Dollar Tree little jute twine. It's not the brown one. This is one I love for Christmas or any kind of nautical ocean type decor. It's perfect for that. And because I managed to glue this image down without any wrinkles, lumps, or bumps, I did not want to risk putting Mod Podge on it in case that happened, because sometimes Mod Podge does cause that. So I opted to do 2 coats of a clear varnish spray in matte. And I am so sorry, I lost the footage where I take a little bit of burnt umber paint. It's just a dark brown paint, and I paint inside the grooves there to make sure that they pop, but you will see it at the end when it comes up. But I think this craft came out so good. It looks so real in real life. It looks just like wood. My next tree, I'm using driftwood. Now, you can use any kind of wood you want. If you happen to be lucky enough to live near a Dollar Tree that has those wood sticks that they sell, that would make a really nice cover. And as you can see, I'm making this one a little taller. And you can also just go outside to good old Mother Nature and collect some sticks and cover it that way. I actually bleached mine to kill any little critters that I may have brought back by accident from the beach. And it brought them up super light like this. And personally, I probably would just pick up wood and soak it in bleach water with the bark on, because I think that would make the bark all soggy and loose. You could just peel it off, but you'll get almost an identical look to this if you want this exact look. Bleach water does amazing things to wood. So, and you can do it by eye too. You just leave it soaking in that bucket outside until you see that it's turning the color that you want it to, keep testing it, reach in, see if the bark peels off, see if the wood is light under there. Probably don't need exact instructions because that one is, I think, more by eye. But anyway, this came out absolutely gorgeous, you guys. The whole time I'm doing this craft, it's so cute. My jaw's hanging open because I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. And it's so heavy. Now here's where I would give additional instructions. I'm changing it up. I would not paint the party hat white. I have to go back with burnt umber and paint all of the visible little white areas to cover it up. So if you know you're going to do something, anything, and you know that it's going to need a dark base underneath, start off by painting it dark for sure. And here I just went out to my garage and I sawed 2 pieces of scrap wood that I had, and I'm just using a little bit of wood glue to glue it together. I didn't nail it. Wood glue was perfectly fine. It held beautifully. And I'm just going to tack that down, and these are going to be the tree trunks. So I took some Dollar Tree ribbon here. I cut it down the center to make it thinner. This is going to be the top of my tree, which I really had to think about because these are rustic trees and I didn't want them to go too frou-frou. So I was sticking with the rustic theme here. And I also took some of the Dollar Tree lace ribbon. I cut that thinner as well to tie it in the center. I love that lace ribbon, so I liked the contrast between the lace and the burlap. One of my favorite ways to rust anything up that's metal is using cinnamon and paint. Now some people put glue or Mod Podge and they roll it in the cinnamon, but I find paint works just fine. And it was burnt umber from Apple Barrel paint on there, and then the cinnamon is sticking wherever the paint's wet, and I mix it with some hairspray later. This is the Dollar Tree totally cheesy pine, you guys. It looks cheap, I have to admit. So what I do to dress this up and make it look more expensive is I cut it down really, really short. I just wanted that nice pop of color, the brighter green, so I left it. Oh, doesn't it look cute though? Look at that. That's the first top right there. So rustic cute. And this is going to be the second topper, but I decided I wanted it to be a little bit different but complementary. So I end up tying some twine on it, and I'm going to hang the bell off of the wooden tree, and these came up absolutely gorgeous. For this DIY, you're going to need a spare piece of wood or a Dollar Tree sign and this free printable. Now this is down below in my description box. You just go ahead and click on that link and it will take you to this free printable. This actually comes from a blog site, and I'm going to show you now how I go about removing the words on the bottom of this printable. I like to use the program paint.net. It came with my computer, but 2 years ago, you used to be able to get a free download online, and I'm pretty sure you still can. And you just take that little highlight tool there where you're kind of grabbing an area that you want, and you click cut, and that's it. And it just removes it nice and easy for you. Now, if the background is colored, you'll get a white spot, but when you're dealing with white, it's super simple, and now you don't have that on anymore. I'm just using regular old school glue here to glue it down. When it comes to decoupaging, from my experience doing it for 20 years, you can glue your image down with anything as long as you seal it in with the Mod Podge, and it works just fine. So I go ahead and I glue it down. For those of you that watched my previous videos, you know that I had some trouble with the red ink in my inkjet printer bleeding because I switched to a generic brand. And to solve that problem, you just spray it with a clear enamel or a clear polyacrylic, any kind of clear spray. And what it does is it puts a light little shield of plastic on there. So after that, not only do you not have to worry about your ink bleeding, but you also don't have to worry about any wrinkling or crinkling of your imagery. As you know, I should have told you this sooner. I actually want to kick myself because I used to decoupage all the time on furniture and sell it. And I would go absolutely crazy when I would get a perfect image on there without one single wrinkle. And when I would go to Mod Podge, it would start to shrink and wrinkle again. And I started spraying it with a clear spray, you know, because I thought, oh, I wonder if this will work. And, you know, that's how you find out things, I guess. And it worked brilliantly. So yeah, if you don't want things to wrinkle and you don't mind waiting a little extra time for your craft, that's how you prevent wrinkling. And now I'm just taking that buffalo check ribbon that I got from Amazon. Definitely check out Michael's and Hobby Lobby too for ribbons. They have really good sales, and a lot of times it's much cheaper than the Dollar Tree. So definitely check those out when you're out shopping. And now I'm just adding the Dollar Tree little red buffalo check ribbon there. I love that. I just think it's so perfect for Christmas. It's such a festive color, and it looks so farmhouse in combination with the black and white one. Last but not least, I am going to go ahead and put a border around with the Dollar Tree nautical rope. This nautical rope I love for Christmas and for any kind of nautical decor. I think it's perfect. I think it looks like something that Santa would tie his sack with. So I'm a big fan of this particular nautical rope at Christmas time. I think it's so cute. And I'm just going to finish this off with a cute little bow on the top. And these bells came from the Dollar Tree too, and I wanted to show you here when I take them out. They're like on a string, and I just cut the string and they came apart super easy. And then what I like to use, and I've been using this for years, are these little needle nose tweezers. You can get them at any pharmacy, or I found these at the 99-cent only store, but I haven't seen them since, so I think it was a fluke. But it's great for holding tiny crafts so your big fat fingers don't get in the way and start messing up the paint. And I just splot on a little bit of that rusty color in nutmeg from Apple Barrel, and here you have it. And it came up so cute. So I put white paint on, then I did some of the green paint. You can use any color green paint you want. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some more white paint on top with a paper towel. But this time I'm going to be pressing the paper down really hard and rubbing, because what that does is it's going to blur and remove some of the green acrylic paint underneath, because acrylic paint doesn't stick really hard like that. So this is going to give it, that's the nice thing about acrylic paint, by the way. If you use like a Home Depot paint, you can't rub it off. It's really hard. You can smear it, but it doesn't actually lift. This one will actually, you can see how it's fading at the top a little bit. This one will actually rub off a little bit and give that nice weathered, rustic, distressed look that it makes it look like it's an outdoor, you know, a sign that was outside for a long time, which is the look I'm going for this. I'm actually making like a vintage Christmas sign. I love this look, this little, I call it my Oliver Twist Christmas look. I love this look. And that's another free printable, which will also be down in my description box. So if you like this font here and you want to recreate this sign, that will be available to you. And now I'm just using the permanent, those little Sharpie permanent markers. They come in a line that's supposed to be like galactic colors, and you get this really pretty wine burgundy red. I love this color, but I just wanted to tell you, I got it at Walmart. There was a set of 4, I think. They are called something to do with space, basically, like think galactic. So love this color, and I decided to go ahead and color in the letters with the permanent marker instead of paint. And now I'm just using the cheap marker from the Dollar Tree. These are permanent markers. I actually love them. They're really nice. They work really well. To do the shadows on the lettering here, I do that with the Dollar Tree marker. Now I'm just going to hit the edges of this sign with a little bit of black paint. You just do it really feather light. I'm going to show you up close here. You just do it really soft like that so it looks like the paint has chipped off and got dirty. You're just creating that illusion. I used to live where it snowed, and that was one of my frustrations, you guys, is my wood windows, you know, the wood around the outside would always get black like this wherever the paint chipped. So I'm trying to copy that look now for decor. It's kind of funny, and now I'm just very, very softly doing a very dry brush of black over the surface, and that's it. I absolutely love the way this sign came out. It came up exactly how I was envisioning it. So for those of you that watch my channel, I encourage you guys to keep any unusual, pretty, decorative bottles because they come in very handy for crafting. So today I'm using a maple syrup bottle that I saved and washed. And the first thing I do is take it outside and give it a coat of white spray paint in gloss because this is glass and I want it to stay shiny looking. And now I'm just taking the burnt umber from apple barrel and doing some dry brushing, and I'm using the tissue to wipe and smear it a little bit because I kind of want to darken up the white. The white was a really bright white and I don't want it to be quite so, you know, loud. So I'm adding obviously a little bit of rustic feel to this bottle, and along with changing the overall color as well. Next, I decide to really highlight and bring out these really pretty designs on the bottom of the bottle, and I'm using the color forest green in apple barrel paint, and as it suggests, it's a dark forest green color. I love that color for Christmas, and I'm just going to go around now and touch up all the little accent areas to bring out that design. And here's another free printable for you. It will be in the description box. It says Santa's Christmas Rum, and I'm just using some regular glue there, and I'm going to glue this label down. And yes, I'm using my finger. I did this because I was afraid if I used a brush, I might actually accidentally remove some of the acrylic paint off of the spray paint because the spray paint had primer in it, so I knew that puppy would stick, but I wasn't confident about the acrylic paint because it rubs off. So in order to control the scratching and the pressure, I used my finger and just really softly spread the glue on, and now I'm blow drying it. And now I'm just taking a pencil and I'm going to write the word naughty on the towering wooden block and nice on the other one. And then after I like the way the font looks and the lettering, you know, I'm not that good at it, but after I'm happy with the way it looks, I take the permanent marker from the Dollar Tree in brown and I just trace over it. And I also forgot to tell you guys, around the label that I glued on the front, I do take some of that forest green paint and just take a sponge and gently kind of put like a little cloud around the edges of the label there. It doesn't stay just yellow like that. Now here's the thing, I did have to tie that twine in a knot at the bottom and glue the knot on top of the block because I tried tying it on, I tried gluing it on the back, and it just did not hang right. So make sure you tie a knot, super simple, and you glue on the top if you want them to hang nice on the side of the bottle. And then I take a wine cork, I cut it down a little bit because I want it a little bit shorter, and I paint it in that forest green again from apple barrel, and I go ahead and put that in the bottle, and that's it, you guys. This is actually a very funny, comical DIY. It's a great conversation piece. For this next craft, you're going to need a metal bowl or some kind of bowl. It doesn't have to be metal, and a tall jar of some kind. This is an old jar that I bought back in the 90s, and I'm sure it was giving off all of that toxic plastic stuff because I know after that they made plastic safer, and I bought it back in the day. So I decided to use it for this craft, and I totally couldn't think. I know you can put a bowl upside down on it, the same bowl, but the Dollar Tree isn't carrying those dog bowls anymore. I've been looking for like 3 months because I've been planning this, and I finally opted to go with this like fake Cool Whip container, and it ended up working really, really well. It just came up so authentic looking. You'll see when it's all done. And I'm using some of that super glue gel. It's I forget what it's called, but any super glue or E6000 will work. Any kind of strong glue that holds it all together will work. And some other suggestions to you guys for the bottom container. I was in a Smart and Final the other day, and they had a big Best Food mayonnaise container that would work. My son drinks protein powder drinks, and he has those big containers in that size and shape when he's done. That would work. So just keep your eye out for big containers that look like a milk jug, and if it's a product you use, go ahead and buy it because it's a great free DIY. So also something I agonized about for the last 5 months is the handles. I had seen many different things, and I just never really liked the way it looked. It just didn't quite look right. I even bought a little rubber basket from the Dollar Tree thinking I was going to use those handles, and then I thought, no, they're not going to hold the crease when I bend it like I'm doing right now. That's so important that that crease stays in place and it looks legit. So shockingly, and I do mean I was shocked, these are the best handles yet that I've ever done for one of these. I mean, look at that. They totally look like metal. It's just like unbelievably the simplest thing around the house. I couldn't believe it after 5 months of trying to figure out what I wanted to use for handles of all things. You know what I mean? You could use a margarine container or any kind of plastic container like that, but that plastic looks really good when you're done. So now I decided to do, I've always wanted to do this, a white enamel milk can, little Farmhouse milk can for Christmas. So I'm just taking my black paint now on my little sponge there from the Dollar Tree, little sponge brush, and I'm going to go about doing that, just getting that look. You edge it a little bit, chip it up a little bit, and it comes up beautiful. Some of you may have noticed that the jar was like a galvanized metal, and that was because originally when I started this craft, I was going to do a galvanized one, and I stopped and thought, no, Holly, you've always wanted a white milk can. Just do it white. So I took it back outside and I sprayed it white. You know, that's something I do sometimes. I'll change my mind in the middle of crafting. I'll be making it and I'll think it is just not hitting the mark. So you guys, that's totally okay. I actually think that's part of the fun of crafting. You just have fun with it. Change it if you want to. Change it up as much as you want until you're happy with it. So once you get that little chippy enamel look where you want it to be and it looks good, I am just taking some regular old school glue and I'm going to go ahead and glue this image down. Now this is a free printable. It will be down below in my description box, and I also decide to make one. I made this one. This will also be down in my description box, but I have a thing for milk cans, you guys. I love them. I don't know why, but I think they are so awesome for farmhouse decor. So I do decide to make this reversible so I can keep it up all year round. Next, I'm taking some clear gloss, little sealer here because we want this shiny, and it comes up awesome. For this craft, you're going to need a spare can. I'm using a coffee can, but you can use any can you want. Now, for those of you that have been keeping up with my festive series through fall and now through Christmas. I made this for fall with pumpkin pies, but I'm doing one for Christmas because I happen to store my tea bags in this container, so I thought it would be nice to keep it up with the seasons. And this is a free printout. It's going to be down below in my description box below my video, so you can print it up and cut it out and get it from there. Now I'm starting off painting this container with white. It was primer from Kilz, K-I-L-Z. It really worked well on the last one I did in the fall season. The paint stuck on really, really well, and I actually was really skimpy with the Mod Podge when I sealed it, so I was really, I'm really pleased with this paint on shiny surfaces. It's working really good for me lately. And I'm just going to Mod Podge this on. Now I did want to make this look a little more festive, so I went ahead and I added some distressed looking red along the top and the bottom edges there. And I'm using a wet sponge to press the print into the lines. I didn't do that last time and it wasn't really that noticeable, but it's funny how you're so critical of yourself, but I just kept focusing on it. So I thought this time I definitely want to get that image down wrinkle free and into those grooves so it looks like it's part of the can. So the wet sponge worked really well. And then using the lid that came with this coffee can, I just went ahead and traced 3 circles with good thick cardboard in that shape of the lid for measurement. And now I'm going to glue some of the Dollar Tree towering wooden blocks in between this. Now I did this originally for height and for weight, but to be honest, when I made the lid before, I didn't do this. I just used, if memory serves me correctly, I used 4 pieces of cardboard and glued them all together. Now, haste makes waste, you guys, because I was trying to save some time by not having to cut out 2 or 3 more circles of cardboard. And now I'm covering the edges with tape because there's that air gap in between, and it makes it really fragile and more difficult to work with. Now, it came up beautiful. It's sturdy when everything's said and done, and I love my lid. But I feel a responsibility to tell you that it would be easier and faster if you just cut out 2 or 3 more circles, depending on how thick, how high the height of the lid, how high you want yours to be. It would be easier just to do cardboard and skip the towering block altogether. It wasn't necessary. So now I want my top to be wood. I really want to go for this wood paneling, shiplap, palette kind of look. And I'm using the jumbo craft sticks from Walmart. And then the 2 ones on the end are medium craft sticks from the Dollar Tree because the other ones were way too big. And I kind of like it when they're different widths too. I think that looks more rustic and more authentic. So I'm using spackling. For those of you that watch my videos, you've seen me do this trick before. Spackling is amazing in the UK, and someone came on from Belgium as well to tell me it's called polyfilla. So in the UK it's polyfilla, also in Belgium I guess, so I'm guessing around Europe it's called polyfilla. That's what I'm using here. Sorry, I don't know the name of it in every country, but you use it to fill in nail holes on your wall. So whatever you guys use for that purpose, that's what I'm using for this craft. And I did the edges to smooth it out, let it dry overnight, and now I'm just sanding the wood and the sides to smooth it down just a little bit. And I decide I want a green lid. I just want to jazz this up a little bit more, make it a little more festive for Christmas. So I'm going with a light green here. You can use any green that you want. I'm going to go with 2 color greens. I'm going to use a light one so I can distress the wood on the top when you see me sanding it right here to show a little bit of wood and make it look rustic and farmhouse. And then I'm going to add some of that forest green paint later and dry brush it on just to give it a little bit more depth and contrast. And I sealed the entire container with a clear matte varnish spray paint. This time I'm going to use one of those Dollar Tree little wood pieces you get. I actually think it might be birch wood, like little mini birch woods there for the lid, because I want to imitate the feeling of a Christmas tree trunk and the greenery of the Christmas tree itself. Last time I used a wine cork, I cut it at an angle to imitate a pumpkin stem, but we're doing it up for Christmas now. And I'm just shading around the lid, dry brushing around the edge, and that's it. It came up so cute. I love this craft. So for this next craft, you're going to need one of those little skinny Dollar Tree signs. I own one and I actually trace it onto my wood and then cut it out because I go and buy the wood and it ends up being cheaper for me. I can get about 41 signs out of a utility panel for $11.46. And obviously I make a lot of these for family and friends. And so for me, it makes more sense to go ahead and go to the effort of cutting it out. It only works for the square ones and the rectangle ones. I'm not that good at cutting out little, sophisticated angles or round circles, but for a square and a rectangle, this works great. And of course, if you're only going to make a couple little DIY signs for Christmas, the Dollar Tree signs work just fine, so don't stress out. And if you don't have a Dollar Tree near you, then use some spare wood or again, go to how to make one of those fake farmhouse wood signs, that video, and just do it that way. But you can still do this DIY. So today I wanted to have a try at painting a tall, skinny, rustic looking pine tree. I've seen these before. They're very on trend. I want to put this up on my mantle this year with all my garland. And so the way I'm doing it, I'm not a professional painter, but I approached this with dry brushing colors in layers. So I do a bright green first, which I got at the Dollar Tree. The next color I do is that forest green. It's actually called forest green and it's by Apple Barrel Paint. The next layer I do is white. So that's going to give some dimension for the snow. And then you'll see I'm going to do, after this, I believe I go over it with the bright green again, and then I think I do more snow, and then I hit it with the forest green, and we get a really beautiful final result. So there's no special painting skills required for this. Anybody can make this tree. It literally is just dry brushing layers on at the angles you see me doing here. I would like to add that it is important that you let each layer dry in between. I was blow drying. I know Bob Ross can do it when it's all wet. He's amazing. I don't know how he does that. But if you want the definite look of like little wispy branches and you want that dimension, you're going to risk losing that because you're going to smear the paint into like one big color. So make sure each layer is dry before you apply the next layer. And for this part, you can use any old brush you want. You're just tapping it on here and there to give the illusion of snow. And don't panic either if you get paint too far on the edge of the wood there. You see on the left-hand side there, I have that little green streak. I'm just going to hit it with some sandpaper. You'll see me do it in a bit. There I go. And it comes off easy peasy. So do not stress about things like that. They're totally fixable. Even on a Dollar Tree sign, you could sand it off lightly. So don't stress, just have fun. And you may notice the trunk is a little 3D there. I do use some of the burnt umber and just put a few streaks here and there on the bottom of the trunk, again, just to add some more realism and dimension. And I'm going to go all the way around the edge with the snow. And now I love this technique. I did this on a whim and I think it came up so pretty. I'm just tapping the brush and it comes up like snowflakes, like it's snowing on the tree. I thought that was so pretty. So, and that's it. It looks to me, well, what I was envisioning, it came up perfect. That is like the ultimate little rustic tree that I've been seeing on Pinterest that I want so bad to put on my mantle. So I made one. Now I'm just hand drawing a star. I actually made the star a little crooked on purpose. Again, if you're going for that rustic look, at least with the look I'm going for, it's supposed to look a little bit not perfect, if that makes sense. So a little cute star that looks hand drawn, that's sitting a little crooked, is exactly what I was going for. And for this part, I'm just using the territorial beige and the burnt umber, and I'm filling in the star, and that's it. I mean, it's done, and I love this. For this craft, you're going to need 3 jars. I used spaghetti sauce jars. I took them outside and spray painted them and then gave them a little light sand, and I'm going to glue some of the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon around it. I actually used organic spaghetti sauce from Aldi's, in case you guys are curious. They're mason jars. They say mason on the top. See that? So when you sand them, that shows up, and they are perfect for farmhouse decor. So keep your eye out for those. And now I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree twine. I'm going to wrap it around the top. I love that look. But I found the easiest way to wrap these around the top is to start by tying them on the top. And because there's little ridges on the top where the lid's screwed on, I had to go really slow to get a nice even spread. I don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't want them all clumped together in one area, stuck in the groove. So just take your time with that. It looks really good, but take your time. And now I'm taking more of the jute twine, and I'm going to go ahead and hang those little snowball thingies of pom-poms. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I love pom-poms. They have these little white pom-poms at the Dollar Tree. You could make them too if you wanted to out of yarn. There's lots of YouTube videos out there how to make pom-poms, but I went ahead and bought these. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of make some cute little hanging snowballs off of this because this is a winter craft. The way I get the jute twine to look like it's sticking out of the little pom-pom is I put a little drop of glue on the pom-pom. You'll see me do it here. And I lay the jute twine on it, and then I roll the pom-pom around and pinch it together, and then I kind of shape it as it's cooling down and drying, and then the twine looks like it comes right out of the center of the pom-pom. So it's a nice little trick. And I'm just using some of that Dollar Tree confetti, gluing it on the front there because they have these really pretty sparkly snowflakes. This is when I do like sparkles, you guys. For the winter decor, I love a little bit of sparkle because, you know, snow glistens if you go outside. And of course I'm adding some bells here because I just thought that was a nice little touch. I think that's cute. And this is what we end up with, and I love this. I had some spare wood that I wanted to use up, so I'm using some wood that I copied and cut like that house. The first thing I'm doing is taking a large craft stick, and I cut it down to a shape that I thought would look cute for little windows, and I'm just using it as a template to trace some windows onto the front of this wood. Now this wood was already painted white. It's part of a bed frame my son built for me, and it chipped apart when they removed it, and it looked perfect, so I didn't want to touch it because I'm going for the rustic look. If you guys are doing the Dollar Tree house, just go ahead and dry brush some white paint on it, maybe a little light dry brush of gray paint, very, very light, if you want to get a similar look as to the one I'm working with here, and then you're good to go. Now I'm using some territorial beige, and again I'm just dry brushing it on there on purpose so it kind of has some light and dark areas there and looks a little worn off. And now I'm using the color khaki. These are apple barrel paints, and I'm painting a front door. Now this piece of wood just happened to have a little chip where the front door knob would be. You don't have to do that, and the inspiration piece I was looking at didn't have that when I looked up winter houses online. But if you like that, you can easily imitate that using a little bit of shadow and paint and make a little doorknob. Mine just worked out that way, but I think it will look really good either way. And now I'm using a little bit of the burnt umber, and I'm just framing the door. Now I'm taking a little bit of the nutmeg, again, all apple barrel paints, and I'm just going to go ahead and put some shadows around these windows to make them come alive and look a little bit more realistic and add a little bit of dimension. Now here's where I decide to change it up a little bit. This is the roof line where you bring it down. So I drew a line from the corner, that little triangle corner there, to the other corner, and I'm going to make the roof come down. The original inspiration piece just had the roof painted on the top, and it had a chimney. I didn't want to do a chimney. I just wanted to have a little bit more, I guess, of a heavier roof on it, and that would look really, really good on the Dollar Tree piece as well. And I'm using a color here that's a brown, but it's like a rusty brown that has a little bit of wine in it. I'm sorry, I don't have the name. This is a really old paint, and it didn't even have colors. It had numbers to it, and I just happened to have it in my arsenal because it matched the color that I saw online. But you'd be looking for a rusty color brown paint. There were actually several houses to choose from in the lineup. Some of them had blue roofs, some of them had a brown roof with a mustard color, and then another brown roof that looked a bit like burnt umber, and then there was this color. And to be honest, you guys, it's such an odd color in my paints. I was just excited to finally have a use for it. That's why it's so old now I can't give you a name, but any of those roof colors would look just fine, or any color that makes you happy, that would look great. Now here I'm taking burnt umber and I'm making these little lines, and they were on the inspiration piece. I think they were meant to kind of look like bricks, you know, or maybe just give it some more character. I loved it, so I went ahead and included that. And I'm also going to edge this piece with the burnt umber all the way around as well to make it look a little bit older and distressed. Now, because this is a winter house, I decided I wanted to go ahead and frost mine up a little bit and make it look a little older too, and just give it more of a wintry feel. And that's it. I kind of tapped the top there to give it a little frosty roof. And I was so pleased with how the final results came out, you guys. Let me know what you think, but I love this little winter house. For this next DIY, you're going to need some thinner wood, some wooden dowels, and some skewers, and some really good clippers. I got these clippers here from a girls' gardening set that my husband got me for Christmas one year from Walmart. But I've seen these clippers in any gardening section at any store, so keep an eye out for them because they are really good at cutting wood, especially craft sticks, without splintering them. I mean, it happens sometimes, especially if you have a really strong fault line or crack in the craft stick, but for the most part, it works great. Now, I decided to cut those in a plastic bag. Great trick there, you guys, because they were flying northwest, east, and south all over my craft room. So go ahead and use some kind of plastic bag and clip them in there so that you can catch the flying pieces. And now I'm just going to go ahead and glue them down into the shape of a pine tree. You can see what I'm making here. I'm going to make some winter trees out of wood. I love wood. And as all of you know who watch my channel regularly, I love Rustic Farmhouse. So I love trees that are going to look a little kind of rough and wooden and homemade. This is going to be part of my winter scene that I'm going to be putting up on my mantle. So when you're all done with that part, don't forget to put a strip of hot glue on the underside just to hold these in place. They are on really good and tight when you do this, so I just want to make sure you don't skip this step. So I want a really crisp top, and I'm showing you there. I cut them at an angle and glued the top together there. That was easy. You just turn your scissors or clippers sideways and cut at an angle, and that gives you a nice beautiful top on top of your tree. For the next tree, I take some computer paper and I'm just creating a really steep inclined triangle shape and getting a pattern for that. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that paper down on some craft sticks. You see what I'm doing here. I didn't tape the craft sticks. I didn't do anything fancy like that. I just pressed hard with my hand. It worked just fine because you're just lightly tracing that shape down on the underside. And then you're going to go ahead and cut on that line to create another tree. Here you see me using hot glue to glue the pieces down. Now with this tree, the trick is you have to glue them down and gently tilt them at different angles. That's what's going to give your tree a nice little rustic look. You can't really see, I'm turning it sideways to show you really fast there. Sorry if that was too fast, but you're just kind of tilting each little piece at different little angles, and it gives it, you can see it better now that I'm holding it up, but it gives it a super cute look from the front. Now I found hot glue was just fine for this, and of course I'm filming and I don't want to, this is because everything was tilted. It would have taken me forever to balance things under everything if I was doing it with wet glue. So I didn't really have a choice with this one, but if you want a stronger hold, you can always add some super glue in there or some wood glue. Now here comes this piece of wood here. I do want to do a shout out to another wonderful lady, Dina M., who did send me some craft supplies back in the summertime here. She said this was some reclaimed wood from a corn crate. I'm not sure exactly what the corn crate looked like originally because it came in different pieces, but Dina, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you so much. A lot of you asked me what I use to cut my thinner utility panel. I just showed you there. The original little saw that I had, the mini circular saw, actually broke. So I got a new one at Christmas time and I bought a Dremel this time. I can leave the link below in my description box, but I absolutely love those little mini, I call them mini circular saws. You can call them Dremels, but they are wonderful for cutting wood. I tried cutting it with scissors, as you saw, and it was just too hard. It was hurting my hands so much. So I just went out in the garage, plugged that little puppy in, and cut those triangles. Within 5 minutes, I was done. And the blade is so fine that it doesn't chop up the wood, so you don't have to sand the edges. I mean, it's just a clean cut. And this is what we end up with, you guys. This is our 3 little wooden rustic winter trees, and we're going to go ahead and add some snow now by painting them white. Now I wanted a little bit of wood to show through. Totally your choice on this, you guys. You can paint them a solid white, or you can flock them, or you can just dry brush white paint on. All of it would look good in my opinion. Just have fun with your craft. For the bottoms, I decide I'm going to recycle some little mini cans I have that had green chilies in them, and I took them outside and spray painted them white. And I'm using some recycled foam that I got from something I ordered in the mail. It worked perfect. but I decide I don't quite like it. So I end up taking some mesh material here. This is actually a top of an old bed skirt that I found at a thrift store for $1.50. So it was half day price, so it would have been 75 cents. It was a king size bed skirt, and I just took the top off because to me it looks like a drop cloth, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's great for these kind of crafts when you want to wrap up the bottom of a little planter base. And that's it. Tied it with a bit of twine, and I love these. These wood beads are another thrift find that I got for $8 on half price day from the Goodwill, and I took them outside and I sprayed them with some matte white paint. Now I'm showing you how I still have some red sections. I had to bring them in ultimately after using a whole can and a half of another can to touch up the red, but I could not get every section, and it was not cost effective. I would not recommend that. It would have been easier just to, I mean, if you're, frugal like me, I think it would be better to lay them down on a piece of plastic, paint one side, let it dry, turn them over, paint another side. You're going to use less paint that way, but if you don't want to, go ahead and spray paint them. And of course, you can use a Dollar Tree wood beads. That would be just fine. Now, this is a pattern I found online. I will put the link down below in my description box for this star. It's a 3D star, and I'm going to take you to the site that also gives you the directions on how to fold it. Now, I'm also going to film that for those of you that are good at following along, but just in case I wanted you to have some more instruction that was a little more detailed, there's some drawings on that site as well so that you get it just right in case you're struggling. It wasn't that hard. The only thing that was hard is I did choose to use poster board. Now, I did this on purpose because the end goal here is to try and make these stars look like wooden white stars because I'm making a garland. So I knew if I used paper that would be way too thin, and even cardstock, I'm not sure, still probably a little too lightweight. I wanted them to definitely hang down heavy. In fact, I do end up putting some hot glue drops on the back of the star in the bottom point to kind of add a little bit of weight so it hangs nicely. But I'm just folding them now to go ahead and make my 3D star. I did find it very helpful to use scissors and those little sharp tweezers, any sharp instrument you have, to get those points really, otherwise, I don't know how to say it. I guess you'll bend it. The crease won't go down the center of that point there without a little bit of help like you saw me do right there. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that so you guys know that you're going to need something sharp to help you do those points if you use poster board. For my size mantle, I went ahead and made 5 stars. So if you want it for a headboard or you have a bigger mantle, you're going to kind of have to measure and figure that part out. Now here's the most critical part. These are the little details you need to do so that it doesn't look cheap. Make sure that you use a nylon brush and apply a really generous layer of white paint. You want to go ahead and get brush strokes in there to imitate wood grain. So these look like little white wooden stars, and you'll see an up close of that in a minute. I use a paper clip at the top. This ends up being the best method for hanging those around the fat beads there because there wasn't a lot of space in between the beads, and I glued at the corner at the very tip, and look at that, it works perfect. This is such a perfect winter garland. I was so happy with how this came out. If you had fun today, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, like this video, share, comment. It really does help my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. I love you guys. And of course, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.